Smite Talk is proudly sponsored by Pixel 8 Studios. Go to Etsy.com, that is ETSY.com, and search for Smite for amazing custom Smite t-shirts. Show your support and check out their store today. Also check out Smite Talk's second sponsor, Tweaked Audio. Go to tweakedaudio.com for high performance, noise reducing earbuds. Use the code OctanePro to get 33% off plus free shipping anywhere in the world. Check out tweakedaudio.com today. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 1 of Smite Talk, a brand new show coming to you live from the OctanePro lair here. Tonight is actually the first night of the show, so I do appreciate you guys coming to support the show. It is a new show separate from Smite Update that I do on Monday nights. We actually just got done with the Smite Update roundtable discussion last night, and tonight we have Smite Talk. So Smite Talk, as you can see, I'd like to go ahead and thank Garrett over at nomoonart.com for the awesome graphics, the really cool logo that we see all around us here. Very, very talented guy, so I'd like to thank him. Once again, guys, that's nomoonart.com. So we're jumping into episode 1, and the way that the show will work is this will be a weekly show on Tuesday nights. That will air every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. So a little bit later than like the typical 8:30 that I do shows. Airs at 9:30 p.m. It'll be about a 30 to 45 minute show. And on top of that, what will occur in the show is we'll have 5 different topics that I've already gone ahead and picked out and kind of talk about them. Give my opinion, get some feedback in chat. But the biggest thing about the show, and hence why it's called Smite Talk, is it gives you guys the opportunity to go ahead and call into the show. So as you can see up on the screen, and let's see if I can find it right down there, is the information for Smite Talk. So you can go ahead, bring up Skype, and give the show a call. You'll call. It'll go ahead and say that I'm not available, but just hang in there. I'll go ahead and pull you into the show, and you can go ahead and give your opinion on some of the topics we're talking about. You can bring up new topics. You can just ask a question if you have a certain question about the game, about a god, about a strategy, anything like that. Hence the name Smite Talk. So the entire show is pretty much fueled off of you guys. So please feel free. If we're not getting a certain amount of calls, I'll just continue to go on with the discussion about the topics that we already have set up. Keep in mind as well, guys, the show will not only have a video VOD, but we'll also have an audio VOD. So just like Smite Update, there will also be an audio version of Smite Talk on iTunes. So if you guys don't have an opportunity to catch the show live at 9:30 on Tuesdays, you can at least catch it on iTunes if you're interested. So make sure that you guys do go ahead and check that out. The audio version will be on iTunes. Give it about a day or two till you see Smite Talk available. It's not quite up on there yet, but you'll at least see Smite Update if you go out onto iTunes. So let's go ahead and jump into our show topics for today. The first topic that we're going to go over is the newest god that was actually revealed right about 3 o'clock today, 3 p.m. over at on Hi-Rez's stream, Smite Game. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it is a Twitch channel that is brought to you by Hi-Rez Studios. They actually have different streamers on there, and one of the streamers is Hi-Rez Bart, who works for the company, fills an esports position over there, and he goes ahead and goes through the patch notes every week. And this week, he went through the patch notes with Hi-Rez and released the next god coming out like any day now, which is Thanatos. So I don't know if any of you guys got a chance to actually check him out. Pretty badass god, if you ask me. If you go ahead and take a look, you can Google it, you can look up the notes. I'll go ahead and post the notes in chat if you guys are interested. There's the notes, and if you take a look at him just by his like picture, it doesn't do justice whatsoever. Thanatos is a really, really cool god, and I'd love to see your opinion in chat, or if you have an opinion, go ahead and call up the show on the Skype line available below about him, because we got to see him today, and it's kind of cool because it's really one of the second assassins that we are really seeing in game. Loki is a main focus on an assassin. I would put him under. I mean, I know there's a few others, but Loki's definitely that main focus on assassins, and now we're seeing Thanatos come into play, and we got to see him today, and he was ridiculous. Like, his health was a little low, but I understand why. And if you notice, like when we were watching Thanatos, he is this archangel. It almost looks like winged god. Is kind of the look that I'd like to give you. I forget the name of the one Marvel character that has the wings. He's like a guy, human body, but he has the wings on him. I forget his name, but he looks just like that. He kind of has that like archangel type of look to him, and but not like this heavenly look at all. It's very dark and like very death-like and sinister. Hence why the name Thanatos there. But he has some really cool abilities, and a lot of his abilities give him health back, which is kind of interesting, especially coming from an assassin, because with assassins they're always like really squishy. They have great escapes, and they do a ton of damage. But the cool thing is, like with Thanatos, is if you look at his skill set, so he has a few different things. He has Harvester of Souls, Death, Sheath, Scent of Death, Soul Reaper, and then Hovering Death. So there's some really cool things about him, and his ability kind of has this like new mechanic where like it kind of allows him to see, one players have like a certain glow to them, but it's really, really cool. ASDF in chat says, I'm a little shy, I may not call. Feel free to call. It's not a video call, it's just an audio call. So if you're really interested, just go ahead, get your feet wet, go ahead and call. It's completely up to you. I'm not going to bite, I promise. So anyways, back to Thanatos. One of the coolest abilities that I've really, really liked is, first off, Soul Reap, which is like his third ability, allows him to do physical damage with his sheath. So he kind of has this like giant sickle looking thing, and it allows him to swing it, and it's like these big broad like strokes with it, and it not only does damage to the god that it hits, but it also does a silence, which I think is really, really cool to apply to somebody like an assassin. So you're allows you to do damage, but also do the silence part of it. And the silence scales, of course, depending on the level. I think the max is about 1.5 on that silence. Now, Hovering Death is something that, if you guys didn't get to see it in the patch notes necessarily, it's really cool. Like, it's like this, all of a sudden, and if you guys aren't familiar, I'll go ahead and read the description right here for Hovering Death. This is his ultimate, and this is the new god, guys, that we're talking about coming out. This is our first topic for today on Smite Talk. So feel free to call in. I mean, thousands of people got to see the update today, or the patch notes today, and actually talk about it, and Bart actually like showed it really, really well, so showed some great gameplay. So call in, let me know what your thoughts are. But Thanatos flaps his wings and goes airborne. So same thing with like, the Thor and Apollo, they go airborne. So Thanatos is up in the air. And he kind of goes from like the three-dimensional view from behind him to now you're almost on top of him. And you're looking at him. It's almost on top, but a little bit more behind. So he's kind of like Superman style, with the wings kind of out and everything. So he goes airborne for 5 seconds, unable to be hit. During this time, he moves unimpeded with additional speed. So it's not just like Apollo where he kind of goes across. This guy's cruising across, like no problem. So Thanatos has a really good amount of speed, and when you click, he pounces on the target. So kind of the same feature as Thor. I think from what I heard was that Thanatos had about a 30 feet increased range compared to Thor within that 5-second window. Whereas Thor is kind of like on this pivot, and he looks around, he finds the location, and then he kind of dives in there. So with Thanatos here, from what we've gathered, he does damage. Now also, enemies below a health threshold are instantly killed. So of course, if they're at a certain point, he hits the ground, does the damage, it'll kill them instantly. But if you do not die to his ultimate, you are stunned. So anyone else that is within the region is stunned. It consumes 50% of Thanatos' max HP when used. So once again, like Thanatos is this god where he uses and is so squishy all this HP, but all his abilities give him HP back. So it's kind of cool. I don't know how much Bumba's mask will be used for him. He, as an assassin, he could be like a great jungler of some kind, but I don't know how much it'll actually be used with Bumba's mask. But I could see an item like Death Toll being very helpful on him just for the ability to gain health back. Those of you guys that aren't familiar, Death Toll is one of those starting items, whereas for every minion he kills or god, he gains back a certain amount of HP. So with Death Toll, it would be perfect. Well, we have our first call. Let me go ahead and swap over to them here. So 1 second here, guys. And we'll go ahead and bring that person in. Alrighty. Hey, how's it going, ASDF?
I'm good. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Alright, excellent. So, what would you like to talk about?
How do you think he's gonna get built?
You talking about like the build style? Like how is he gonna be built specifically?
Do you think he's gonna build speed or what?
I think with him, it's gonna be very similar to like a Loki style, where we see not only attack speed being extremely valuable, but also your physical power. A lot of the items that you will see that he's building will be very similar to Loki, but the only thing we have to keep in mind with Thanatos is that it comes down to HP. In a major fight, he's going to suffer a lot, so he's going to need to select items that are going to give him like an HP return. Like I talked about with like the Death Toll, it's going to be extremely important in early game. Like if you actually looked at the when Bart was actually playing him and jungling a little bit, he could clear a camp at an early stage. As level 3, I guess it was, because he was doing like a practice there. But it took away like half of his health. So, granted, it's going to give him some back, but items that go ahead and give you an HP return, I think are going to be super important. What did you think about him? I mean, did you get a chance to see him today?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so from what you've heard, especially about his ultimate as well, what do you think about him? Does he sound pretty cool, or are you disappointed, or what are your thoughts?
He sounds good, but I'm afraid of people pouncing on him and killing him easily.
Correct. He doesn't have the vanish like Loki does, where you can quickly get away, where Loki can jump into battle, try to get that gank off, or do a ton of damage, and then go ahead and, quick pop and get away. He doesn't have that ability. His third ability, Soul Reap, does have a silence to it, so there's an opportunity to, silence and then run away as fast as you can, but he doesn't have that, so that's a very good point. Anything else that you've noticed so far?
I think like he'll be good with a god that could stun a lot, so he could do damage and then run away before the god has a chance to hit him back.
No, that's a very good
point.
Like
Ymir or someone like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent point actually. I mean, Ymir has a bunch of changes coming to him. We're gonna talk about that later on in the show. Some of the god changes that we did see from this past patch. But any other questions you have, or any other things you'd like to talk about while you're on the show?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, well, thank you very much for calling in, man. I do appreciate it. Have a good day. All right, well, thank you to ASDF for calling in. If you guys want to go ahead and call in, please feel free. The Skype information is directly below. Go ahead and call in. Doesn't necessarily have to be about the topic we're talking about now. It could be about anything that you'd like to talk about, completely up to you. So we just went ahead and finished talking about Thanatos and this new god that's being introduced. Pretty cool idea. That they are applying here. We're seeing, once again, a god take to the sky for their ultimate. Last night in the Smite Update, we kind of talked a little bit about like the ultimates in the game and the different mechanics in the game that have kind of come to light. And that we went from this two-dimensional playing field to up in the air. So now all of a sudden, we have the air to deal with and the ultimates, and it's a whole different playing field. Apollo takes advantage of that. You see Thor. Now we're going to see Thanatos. And, Athena kind of, but she kind of is like almost like a teleport ability. It's not like you see her move across the air specifically. It's just up and then quick down into that opposite location across the field. So, pretty cool to see. If you guys have any thoughts about it, please go ahead and call in. The information is directly below. I am going to jump on to our second topic for tonight, but we can always jump back. So feel free to go ahead and call in. We're going to go ahead and move on to our second topic. So let me go ahead and get that up for you guys here. Alrighty, so our second topic is the upcoming God changes, and there's so much to talk about. But if you guys, as I said before, if you have a question or you want to talk about something that we're not talking about at the moment, it's okay. Like, call in. And oh, there we go. All right, we got a call coming in. Let me go ahead and accept that here. And hey, Andy, how's it going? Andy, you there?
Hello.
Hey, Andy, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Awesome. So, thanks for calling in. What would you like to talk about today?
Well, I mean, about this Naza nerf.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on it? About the only one hit and it can't hit him twice.
Sure, definitely. Definitely to me, when I played her, and I played her on a limited basis, but I definitely played against her a ton. She was extremely strong, and she has been actually since she was released. When she first came out, I mean, she was unbelievable in jungle, and she still is, regardless of the changes that were actually made to her. In regards to your question there with the ring toss per se, when it is tossed out and it bounces off of people, but can go ahead and return back and almost loop around and do a second hit there. I'm kind of glad. It's an interesting way for Hi-Rez Studios to decide to nerf her, because in the past what we've seen Hi-Rez do is when there's a problem with one certain ability being too strong, you'll see Hi-Rez kind of bounce around the problem with the adjustments. They'll make a little tweak here, a little tweak there, but never focusing on where the problem is at. With Naja, though, the amount of damage that she does is astronomical, and so I like what they're doing here, where they're just making a change to it rebounding onto someone else. I kind of like it. What are your thoughts on it, though? You sound a little hesitant.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of upset about it a
Okay.
little bit because I mid Naza, so usually I finish off the first wave of minions, the warriors and stuff like that, and then the archers will be in the back row. So usually I'll toss my ring, it'd bounce off the god at later levels twice.
Yep.
And it would do a lot of damage. But I mean, now that it can only hit the person once, I mean, I can't really get those early game kills, so...
Sure. I mean, it's going to
yeah.
affect her lane. It's going to affect her laning completely, as you talked about there. Same thing with like when you're jungling, as you talked about. Like as it's bouncing, it's not going to go as far per se, and it's not going to do as much damage. If you were to adjust Naja in one way or another, and it wasn't with her universal ring toss, and you had to make an adjustment, what would it be then if it wasn't the rings?
Well, if it was jungle-wise, I don't think I'd start off with rings anymore. I
Okay.
think, well, my jungle build is generally Bumbas
Yep.
into a Potion of Might and Hog and one HP pot,
Sure,
and
that
I'd
sounds
roll out
pretty
into
good.
jungle. Yeah, and so with that, I would, instead of getting my 1, I'd get my 2, his little buff, and just continue from there. So I think I'd get his 1 after I hit level 2 or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I know there's going to be quite a few upsets, as there was a ton of adjustments in this patch that were actually just released the notes were released today. Anything else that kind of you'd like to talk about while you're on the show today?
I mean, there's also that big damage nerf to Vulcan's 1.
Yes.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because I mean, some of my friends were talking about how it was doing a lot of damage, but then I had my counter argument with it would stop you in your tracks with a knockback. So
Yep.
I mean, you wouldn't have to completely follow them around. I mean, that's the only setback to the big damage is that you can do the big damage, but you're gonna lose track of them if you can't get those last hits in.
Sure, exactly, because as that knockback occurs, you're no longer on top of that person, and a lot of the abilities that he does have with his cannon and also with a thumper, it's close range. I mean, it's not that far of a spread, so all of his abilities are very close together. Those are the people that aren't familiar in chat, which what we did see go on with Vulcan was they've gone ahead and taken his first ability and nerfed the amount of damage that it does, but they've increased the cooldown at top level to be like 5 seconds. So as you talked about, the damage is being reduced, but think of it at the max level. Now, granted, it's late game. Max level of that ability, it can be used every 5 seconds. So with the appropriate cooldown abilities and stuff like that, this is almost like a Hebo water spout. Like, you could use it like in an insane amount of time, and it doesn't do a ton of damage, but the amount of times you can use it, especially in a laning phase, is going to make Vulcan a little bit more viable. And I think that's what they're trying to do, because right now, in all honesty, Vulcan's boring to play.
Yeah.
Like, you put down some turrets, you kind of hang out, you swing your hammer around every once in a while, and when you do have your first ability up, you kind of pop that, maybe hit a god, maybe clear a few minions, but that's about it. And as you exactly said there, and you made a very good point, with his current first ability, which is that backfire, it separates you from your opponent, so there's this huge gap already. So it's not like you're going to throw down a cannon or a thumper right behind them. So that's a very good point. I mean, I think we might see Vulcan be a little bit more played a little bit more, actually, and his laning phase be a little bit more adaptable.
Yeah, I want to see like people using Vulcan in a more aggressive way, more than a passive aggressive type situation. So yeah, and then there's also the Ymir buff, or I guess I could call it a buff, of where his glacial strikes. Well, I mean, there's some games of where I like to mess around and take Ymir mid.
Yep.
And I guess the buff now increases makes him more viable for me to go mid. So.
Yeah, Ymir changes. Those of you guys that aren't familiar, he had his base mana increased, which I'm kind of happy about. I feel like he's so reliant on mana, so I'm kind of happy he went from 185 to 200. His mana per level was increased as well, just a little bit, about 2, and his physical protection was increased, so he's a little more tankier. Now, as Andy here is talking about here with Glacial Strike, the cooldown of this ability was reduced from 11 seconds to 8 seconds, so he could cast his Glacial Strike more often, hence probably why we're seeing the mana adjustment, because the cooldown's a lot lower, so he's going to be blowing through mana quicker, and the magical power contribution has been increased from 60 to 70, so overall it's a pretty good change for Ymir to make him a better tank. But what are your thoughts, Andy? Do you think Ymir was already a good tank before this, or do you think he needed this?
I think he was an okay tank if you knew how to use him in tactical situations. But I mean, it just depends on the user. But now I think it's more like Ymir will be a tank that could finish up kills potentially now. Yeah,
definitely. Very good point. Well, excellent, sir. I appreciate you calling in today, and please don't hesitate to call in the future.
All right. Thank
you. All right. Thank you very much to Andy for going ahead and calling in there. Once again, guys, if you guys are just joining us, this is Smite Talk, a brand new show that will be every week, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, on Tuesdays. So Mondays we do Smite Update right here, and we also are doing now Smite Talk on Tuesdays. Smite Talk is pretty much a show where I go ahead and have a preset discussion topics, but hey, we can go anywhere. We don't have to stay on these topics. Go ahead and call in if you're interested. The information's there. You can ask questions. You can ask, my opinion on different things within Smite, anything. It doesn't have to stay on topic. That's the whole point of the show. You guys determine the show with your questions and your call-ins. But I will continue going through some of the discussion points I have, and if you guys would like to, please feel free to go ahead and call in. So, the second topic we're talking about is the god changes that we saw. And as Andy and I, thank you, Andy, once again for calling in, we talked about Ymir. Ymir's getting that tank adjustment there. We talked about Naja, who I said is she because, yes, it looks like a girl, but it's actually a man, a boy. We talked about Naja getting a nerf, which I'm so happy about Naja's nerf. Naja is so good. Like even as a tank, I was moving away from Naja at certain points because Naja can be so good, and on the right person is so deadly. So I can understand Naja getting the universal ring toss adjustment there. So very happy to see that. Moving on from there, just different things going on. Let's go ahead and just kind of go through the list alphabetically. We're not going to talk about every god and get into a ton of detail, but we'll kind of go over a few things. We did see some adjustments to Anhur, where we did see his basic attacks were being considered as hard CC, so that they're going ahead and checking that and making an adjustment to that. Also, his spear attack, which is part of his passive, will now reduce the enemy target's physical protection by 15, which is like a hard 15 compared to 15%. So a little bit of a buff there towards Anhur. So kind of happy to see that. Kind of nice, actually, there. On top of that, Ao, which, oh my gosh, watch out for the Slithering Dragon, because AO is going to be not only excellent at mid, but he's going to be awesome at solo lane. And you might be thinking, well, solo lane's always been for that god which has high sustain or other things like that. Well, or like has a little bit of tankiness to them. Well, now what we're going to start to see with AO, which is really amazing, is that AO now is going to have the ability to hold lane on his own even as a squishy mage. What we saw Spirit's Tempest. The cooldown, and this is his first ability, guys. The cooldown of this ability has been reduced from 90 to 80. So, 1 second there. The delay between the time the ability is fired and these Spirit stats hitting has been reduced by 0.2 seconds. So, some pretty cool adjustments there. We're seeing some really cool stuff on AO that is occurring. Let me just scroll up here on some of the notes. Yep, there we go. So, yeah, I think AO is definitely going to be in it for the long haul here, discussing that specifically. Let's see here. Let's see, I did have a message back here. Moving on from there, once again, guys, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, please go ahead and call in. It's completely up to you guys. Just make sure your audio quality is okay. I hate to hear if you're on the phone or anything like that, roll staticky and crappy and stuff. But either way, call in. Don't be shy. We've already had 2 people call in so far. Moving on from there, we had a whole bunch of different changes come on, and it looks like we have a call here. Hey, Derek, welcome to Smite Talk.
Hey, Octane.
Hey, so what questions or things you want to talk about?
Topic I wanted to bring up was how someone who wants to get into the competitive scene can get like on a team and get to the point where like they're like competing in tournaments weekly and like winning kind of like Lassus or that man or Shing.
Sure. Very good question. This comes up a lot actually, and thankfully, I've been in the scene for a little bit over a year now, and so I talk with a lot of competitive players. I've spoken with some people which have been in the same shoes almost that you are in, as you're talking about, where you're situated where you want to get into the competitive scene. You want to find a team. There isn't really a great resource right now in regards to, it's not like you can go on Reddit and be like, hey, high-ranked player looking for a team. You may find a team here or there, but they might not be up to the skill level that you're looking for, and it might be very difficult. What I can recommend for you is the best thing for you to do, and what I've noticed players doing is play a lot of the competitive parts of the game. So it's been ranked, solo ranked for a while, and now we're going to start to see this solo mastery conquest come into play. And this is what a lot of competitive players have told me. What happens is if you are playing... if you are really committed to competitive and that whole pro competitive scene, you should be playing ranked all the time. Like, you should be living your life by when that timer goes off. And the reason I say that is because when you're in game and you're playing with these different people, you're communicating with people at your level. So as you progress and as you get better within ranked, you're going to start finding yourselves playing with some of these competitive players that are out there or up-and-coming teams, and you'll start communicating with them. And the best thing I could do is recommend is, hey, you play with someone, things go really, really well in a competitive type of atmosphere like a ranked. You friend request them. You can, talk about the game in between those matches. Have conversations with them, and you can start to network yourself with that. And lo and behold, sometimes you'll find that teams are looking for other people in order to join that, and they might go, "Oh yeah, I just played with this guy. This guy's name was Derek. I see him all the time in ranked. We need a mid laner. He's awesome at mid. Let's go ahead and send him a message." There isn't necessarily like a looking for team system right now. You could do your best to hunt and peck around, but keep in mind, a lot of the rosters in with the competitive teams are like 5 people solid. Like if you look at Team Dignitas, they don't have a sub. Like it's 5 people completely committed. And so it's kind of hard to squeeze into all of a sudden you're showing up on a team like that. So my best recommendation there could be playing solo Conquest, I guess the Mastery Conquest when it does release here, and making an impact in those games, showing good manners, stuff like that. And as time goes on, you'll start to network yourself. Does that kind of answer your question a little bit?
Kind of. I mean, I already found a team. I was just
perfect.
bringing up a topic.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I appreciate that. What other topics do you have for us today? What are your thoughts on a lot of the changes that we did see today?
Personally, I don't like the Vulcan nerf.
Okay.
The main reason is just because like I got a friend and he really his favorite character is Vulcan, and he really likes to take Vulcan mid.
Okay.
And his 1 was his source of wave clear. He could
Correct.
use his 1 and completely wipe out a wave. Now the backfire can't do that.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I think they're really changing how Vulcan should be played.
Completely. I mean, as you said there, like your friend is used to playing Vulcan in one way, having that lane clear available to him. Now he's going to have to be relying a lot on his cannon in order to clear that lane, and it's not going to be almost an instant clear. As you talked about, he's a lot weaker now. So, granted, the cooldown is more often, but just as you said, you're taking the god and you're completely changing, just with that one ability, changing the play style of him. So I completely agree with you. I'd be eager to hear in the future, if your friend ends up sticking with Vulcan or moves away from him because of this change.
Mm-hmm. I'll make sure to tell you.
Anything else? Anything else you'd like to talk about today?
Not really.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much, Derek. I do appreciate you calling in. Yeah. All right, let's see. We have another caller here, guys. Hang in there. Let's go ahead and bring them in. Let's see. Here we go. All right. Let's see. There we go. Hey, man. Welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going?
Hello?
Hey, this is OctanePro. How's it going?
Hello? My name is Ep.1, and I would like to ask, what do you think about active changes?
The active changes. Anyone specifically, or just the overall changes that we did see to the actives?
Overall, and mostly to Eye of Providence and Creeping Curse.
Sure, no problem. Let me go ahead and bring those up, and I'll kind of give that to you guys. So, those of you guys just joining, I want to go over what was changed about those so you guys understand what we're talking about, and then I'll give my opinion there. So, Creeping Curse, the third tier of this item has been renamed to Weakening Curse and is a new icon. The healing debuff has been increased from 50% to 100%. So, first off, let's talk about Creeping Curse. Creeping Curse in the past, as you guys know, has gone ahead and given a significant slow to anybody within the radius, and then it gives a 50% decrease in the healing buff. Well, now we're seeing 100%. So if you're within that Creeping Curse range, you have Creeping Curse, you can't heal. I think we're going to see Creeping Curse a lot now, believe it or not. I think it's a great item. Take a look at team fights. It's all of a sudden everyone jumps in on a team fight. All right, spam your Creeping Curse ability. Get that off right away. It stops that heal from occurring. What is your thoughts on Creeping Curse? Do you like the change or no?
I think the change on it adding cripple and can't use combat blink due to that is interesting, but increase from healing debuff is quite strong, too strong in my opinion, definitely.
Yeah. It's I think we'll definitely see an adjustment there. That Hi-Rez is one of those companies which I found which will go ahead and go we're at 50% now. They'll double that to 100%, which they have here. I guess when the patch comes out tomorrow, or whenever it comes out, they'll go ahead and go crazy. They'll double it, which they have, but then they'll go ahead and tweak it back and be we're going to tweak it back to 75, or we'll take it back to 65. And so that's the nice thing about beta. It's a shame that companies use that card so easily. It's in beta, so we can throw it out there because it does affect us as the community base so much. But moving on to Eye of Providence. A lot of significant changes to Eye of Providence. Hi-Rez Erez did say that the Eye of Providence was not getting used as often as they wanted. And so what happened was Tier 1, the cooldown for the placing of the wards has been reduced from 90 to 60. So a significant 30-second decrease there. Pretty cool. Going to see it used a little bit more there. The second level, this now deploys a sentry ward instead of a normal ward. So as we talked about weeks back when they went ahead and swapped over to the two different wards, we now have a normal ward goes out. So very nice to see that. So it's a stronger of a ward now. And finally on a Tier 3, this ward no longer requires line of sight to detect enemy players at this ward. So they've pretty much taken Eye of Providence and said, hey, you want the ultimate ward, here it is, this is with the ability. I'm happy with it because I purchased Eye of Providence in the past, and it doesn't justify the cost, I feel like. When you get it in the past, it's it's okay. But now we're going to see something that's extremely, really cool out of it. What is your thoughts on Eye of Providence? Do you think it needed this adjustment, or were you happy with the way it was?
It definitely needed some buffing. but considering how badly, I don't know the radius of the pepper wards right now. I haven't seen that. So I don't know how good this will be, but I think this will be definitely a really good active. I don't know. I think it shouldn't be as strong because since pepper wards are that expensive, it's gonna pay its cost. But I think also the tank role is gonna be more ward potting, and I think the hogging objective is gonna move to jungler or solo lane.
That's actually a pretty interesting point that you point out there. I'll be interested to see how that actually works itself out, and who we see using, as you mentioned there, like who we see using Eye of Providence the most. Is it going to come down to like a middle god or a jungler, or who's going? I'm most likely not a jungler, but like a middle god, or is it a tank that's going to be purchasing this in order to get the proper wards up in the jungle? That's a very good point. So we'll definitely have to see. Any other topics you'd like to talk about today?
A little off topic from Smite.
No, please go for it.
How do you shave your beard, and how does it affect your game mechanics?
How do you shave your beard? That would be a question for Demon Machine, because he's the guy with the beard. I haven't had I used to have a goatee. I no longer have. I haven't had a goatee for over a year, I think now. So I will have to say I am not able to answer your question there, sir.
That's unfortunate.
All right, sir. Well, thank you very much for calling in. I do appreciate it. You have a good day. All right. Well, thank you very much for that caller for calling in. Great questions there. Kind of interesting on the beard at the end. So moving on, guys. We had a ton of adjustments made. We're not going to go through all of them. There's a lot going on there. I'd like to go ahead and move on to our third topic. If you guys would like, please go ahead and call in. And we can always move back a topic. We can always bring up additional topics. No problem. So another topic I'd like to go ahead and talk about is the solo mastery conquest mode. So as you see up there, mastery conquest mode, and this is going to change a lot. This is going to change a ton, and I'd like to go ahead and bring up the info. Where's the info to call in? Right here, right below. See? Call in with questions or input via Skype, and there's the Skype name. So anyways, getting back to my topic there, a new topic we're going to talk about, but feel free to call in about anything you guys would like, is our third topic is goodbye to rank, hello to solo mastery conquest. So those of you guys that aren't familiar, ranked has not exactly been the best mode in the game for a lot of players. It's a huge turnoff for a lot of players there, and it's something to point out, like, I come from StarCraft 2 scene, where the ranked mode is like what everyone plays. You have very little people that play the casual type of non-ranked mode. New players starting out, they'll play the non-ranked mode, and then when they're comfortable, they just moved on to ranked, good to go. But in Smite, it's completely flip-flopped. You find that everybody plays casual, and then there's a very small portion that'll actually do ranked. And so what we're seeing actually coming out of Hi-Rez is they're saying, you know what, ranked isn't working. They know it's not working. So let's go ahead and trash it and go ahead and bring in a new mode, which is solo conquest mode. And what it does is it forces the community to play a pretty good amount of casual games with a diverse amount of gods, getting up to 12 gods. I think it is 12 gods mastered. Let's see here. In order to join the queue, you must have at least 12 gods at adept level. So this is, you have occurred at least 50 worshippers on 12 gods. So in order to view that, guys, you can go ahead and go into game, click on the god menu, and then you can click through and click on a god, and it'll tell you how many worshippers you're at. And then from there, you just have to have 50 worshippers on at least 12 gods. So, excuse me, that's a lot of gameplay. Like, you have to earn the right to get in by wins, because you earn those worshippers by wins. So you have to earn the right into ranked. Then once you're into ranked, I'm sorry, calling it ranked, it's actually called Mastery Conquest. Once you're into Mastery Conquest, then you can only play the gods you've mastered. And people were like going crazy over this. They're like, well, what do you mean you can only play the gods that I've mastered? How's that going to work? Like, how are you going to make team comps? Team comps aren't going to be a huge factor, because I guess what they were saying with their studies and stats, are you allowed to call in more than once? Yeah, man, you call as many times as you want. So, anyways, what I wanted to point out there was people were saying, what are we gonna do when we go ahead and we get into the god selection screen, and I have only 12 gods. 12 gods. You have to meet 12 gods. Let's say you hit the minimum, but I can only select 12 of them, and any of the gods that I select aren't going to be good for like a typical casual style play where it's like, okay, you have to have these. You have to have a mid lane mage style. You have to have a tank in one lane. You have to have a soloer in one lane. It's not going to work. So what they found was, even if you have people coming into this solo mastery level and you have them playing a crazy combination of gods, they still have a higher chance of doing well because the gods that they are playing are gods that they've mastered. So it's going to be kind of unique. I think we're going to see this kind of fumbleness that goes through which happens with the god selection for a while, because it's going to be all over the place until we have enough players in the solo mastery conquest, enough players that have enough of the gods unlocked to play in here per se, that they can kind of select from whoever and it doesn't matter. And eventually, and I'm talking about eventually, this might be after the game goes live and months down the road, we're going to hit this plateau where all of a sudden it's going to be like a normalization. I got 20 gods under my belt, a little bit of tanks, a little bit of hybrids, a little bit of mages, ADs, stuff like that, where you could go into a solo conquest mode and be able to play a little bit of everything. And I think that's why they're changing it up, because the rank system now is so screwy that anybody can join in, and when you are into the game, you can play whatever. So you could be in a ranked match and end up playing a god which you're not even that good at. And the downside is then you affect your entire team because of that, because you're not very good. So it's all of a sudden you have people being in a competitive atmosphere, and John Smith just got in, and he's playing a god that he sucks at, and he's only ever played a handful of times. Why does the entire team have to be affected by it? Well, this is completely changing that. So pretty cool to see. Pretty happy about that. We'll kind of have to see how things work out there. Let's go ahead and see if we have any other calls. No other calls right now just yet. Once again, guys, you can call in. Oh, there it is right there. Office butt 6. Let's go ahead and accept it there. Hey, how's it going, man? Welcome to Smite Talk.
Octane, I love you.
Well, glad, man. Thanks for joining me. What would you like to talk about today?
I was just wondering if you knew what the fox said.
What did the fox say?
Yeah.
Yeah? What? Oh, that is such a unique song. It's a very good song. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I'll let it just play through. I'll just let it play through. That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that with us. On a Smite-related note, anything you'd like to talk about today?
Yeah, I was curious about how Tyr is being buffed right now. How is he buffed?
Tyr? Let me go ahead and scroll down so we can go over that. So, two things happened to Tyr. First off, the power cleave, which is in his guard stance. The base healing has been increased. So there's a little bit of buff there. He is getting healing behind that. At max level, you're seeing a 90 to 125. So not bad. He has a little bit more sustain with that heal. Which I think they're trying to get him more back towards a bruiser style. Because right now, I don't know many people that play him as a bruiser. It's pretty much hey, let's build him almost like an AD. On top of that, the physical power scaling has been increased from 15 to 50%. So off his power cleave, even though it's in guard stance, they've buffed it. So they are buffing that kind of bruiser style side. And then Lawbringer, this ability now be fired while crippled. So a little buff there. He can go ahead and use Lawbringer when he is crippled. So do you see what I mean? How they're trying to put Tyr back into a bruiser type of category compared to an AD?
Yeah, definitely. He's extremely strong right now, and I completely understand where they're going with this.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm also curious as to how this Arachne jungle is going to play out. What do you think about that?
Oh, I don't... Arachne's screwed. Okay, they went ahead and they said, all right, in the beginning, Arachne's, for her eggs are not going to be as strong. And I can see why, though, because literally when I played on a team which had an Arachne, I'd always complain a little bit. But then we would do level 1 Gold Fury with Arachne. She could put down 3 of her egg sacs, and you could take down Gold Fury at level 1, and it was a little strong. because of those. And in the right hand, she's amazing jungler. But so what they did was they made her weaker in the beginning of the game, but then they're saying the way it's scaling, her spiders are going to be stronger later in the game. Well, later in the game, with those type of minions, you just nuke them down anyway. You're not as concerned about them. It's an early game where she's so effective because those spiders are so strong. So, I don't know. I feel like we're going to see Arachne kind of fall to the shadows for a little bit.
Yep.
Anything else you'd like to talk about today, sir?
Besides what the fox says, I'm not sure. I'm just trying to figure that out. So other than that, no.
Well, thank
but
you,
I
sir.
do love you, sir.
No, I do appreciate it, and I appreciate you calling in. A little humor there, and great question. So I look forward to your call in the future. Maybe we'll get another. Little song in the future going.
All right, peace, bro.
See ya. All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and we're talking right now a little bit about everything. Whatever you want to call in and talk about, we can talk about here. Our topic right now is kind of the Mastery Conquest mode, and I try to explain it the best I could in regards to what we're starting to see. And the mode is so unique. So I think it's a really cool idea. It's going to have a very niche player base at first, and I'm really eager to see. I like to see the stats. Like when Hi-Rez does release this, I like to see the justification behind it. Not all the information they gave us so far, excellent, like really, really good. But what I mean by that is when that mode releases, it would be cool to see the amount of players that actually are available that can actually play that mode, because I feel like it's going to be so small. Let's go ahead and take a different call here. Let's see. Andy. Hey, Andy, thanks for calling back.
Alright, so I was wondering about this, oh my god, solo master ranked, right?
Yep.
Are they gonna have the same elo system or something built in?
Is it going to be similar? From what I understand, it's going to still have an elo system in the background of it, almost like their matchmaking value built into it. But apparently, because of the fact of that the requirements and everything like that, Hi-Rez has said that you're going to see players playing with more people that are closer together in regards to levels compared to before in the regular solo ranked, you were all over the place. It would take a few people from this area and a few people from this area, throw them together to give them an average elo, and hey, this team is good to go. Where my understanding now is because of the way that they're changing it, not on the elo and the matchmaking side, but on the requirements to get even into it, and then the player pool available to it. Apparently, it's supposed to be a more competitive atmosphere because of people will spend less time with BM and more time actually because everyone's mastered their god. So in reality, it's supposed to be a better game play and game mode because everyone's supposed to be really good at what they're playing. So, but I will have to argue there, just because you've played a god a ton and you've mastered that god, it doesn't mean you're good at that god.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, I mean, cause you know how there's 3v3 or joust ranked and then solo joust ranked?
Yep.
I was wondering if there was ever gonna be an elo system implemented for those two game modes.
Well, I know right now there is a ranked 3 versus 3. So you do have that available. But solo though you don't. So I think they will, because the way that 3 versus 3 has been going, it's extremely successful. Like you have the 3 versus 3 Clash of the Gods out there right now, and the 3 versus 3 queues are amazing. You almost always find a match within that. So I'd have to say that right now I don't know of it, but I could definitely see it occurring in the future. Just because of how well it's been doing. And the 3 versus 3 has been doing really well too. I mean, starting out with the 3 versus 3 Clash of the Gods, which I'll be casting tomorrow night, it started out with a very small team pool. And all of a sudden, after 2 or 3 tournaments, it took off. And now they have so many teams. It's ridiculous. But the cool thing about that is you're not just hardcore competitive teams. You see a lot of casual teams. Me, Andy, and the office guy that just came on could go ahead and play. And hey, it's for fun. No big deal. It doesn't have to be super competitive. So, very good question. Well, man, thanks. Any other thoughts?
Well, I mean, because you know how the elo system right now, based on rank, is it based on how many games you've played too? Because some of my friends will win a certain few amount of games, but they'll get a few hundred more elo. And for me, when I win a few games, it's 30 or 40 elo a pop.
Sure. It does come down, from my understanding, with the way the ELO works is it's broken. like there's no good way to say it. Like the ELO system in this game is broken. It doesn't work very well. So I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, and we are in beta. Hi-Rez has completely changed everything in the game except really for the matchmaking system. And I think we can all agree it's not very good. We'd like to see a new one, but hold out though, because we did hear Erez say that leagues are coming. And with leagues, we're going to see a completely different type of game, and it's going to make it so much fun because you're going to be like, hey, I'm in Gold League, rank 30, I win a game, bam, now I'm moving up to like 20, moving on, and it's going to be so much fun to play even by yourself. Because right now, Smite's okay to play by yourself, but to play by yourself, there's going to be quite an incentive because it's like, okay, hey, I can go ahead and play by myself and slowly move up in ranks. I would think the leagues are going to apply directly to the Mastery Conquest. And not to like casual style because it's really hard to gauge that.
Yeah.
But I think it's awesome. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, because like what was I just gonna say? But like I used to play League a lot, and I had like I think Silver 2 or something like that back then.
Yep.
But yeah, but that the leagues in Smite would sound like a good idea because then I think it'd be easier to split up the matchmaking on like based on skill level and all that, or how many games they've won and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. All right, man. Yeah. Well, I got another call coming in. I appreciate you giving me a call. And thanks for calling, man. Twice in one show. I'm honored.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and grab this other caller in here. And let's see. Hey, Derek, you there?
Oh, hey.
Hey, welcome to Smite Talk. How's it going?
I'm doing good, but I kind of want to talk about Thanatos for a moment.
Sure.
And it kind of bothers me that he still has mana.
Ah, you're looking for a different mechanic to be implemented into the game, aren't you? Like a different style. Like you're hoping to see health.
I've seen it in Dota.
Yep. So what would you replace that with? Would it be like a Rage or like a what have other games done? They've done Rage. And a few other things. Like, what is the yellow one from WoW that like Rogues had? Do you remember that? Or no?
Hello, am I like lagging? I think.
Nope, you're still there. Can you hear me? Hello. All right, well, I'll go ahead and end that call with Derek, but he does make a really good point. We haven't seen Thanatos actually start to, with Thanatos, he has his health and his mana, and it's an interesting thing actually about the game is that we've stuck with health and mana for the longest time, never going ahead and veering off of that path to go into different things. So you did go ahead and lag out there. It's okay, man. Like I am taking your question there. And so you could have stamina bar. There could be like a stamina color separate. So I don't know. We'll see if they actually start to tap into that. Let's go ahead and take Jacob's call. Hey Jacob, welcome to Smite Talk.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for calling in. What can I do for you today?
I had a quick couple questions for you. I just wanted to know, did they do any nerfing to Ra or Shablanque? And I wanted to know about the new skins coming out.
Sure, definitely. The Ra we saw, I could go ahead and read it off here. Ra Solar Blessing, the physical and magical power of the buff and debuff have been removed from his ability. So that's gone right there. He doesn't have that. So there's a nerf there to his Solar Blessing. On top of that, the base healing has been increased. So what we saw is the physical and magical power buff and debuff gone, and in replacement of that, we're seeing a healing coming in. So the max tick was 55, now it's 60. So you're only seeing a very, very small change there. On top of that, though, the magical contributions of the healing has been increased from 10 to 15. So even though the tick has only 5 difference at max level, the percentage increase is 10 to 15. So Ra, I want to consider it a buff, but I'm not really sure, to be honest. Like I'm not sure where it's going to put us at. We're going to have to see how valuable that physical and magical debuff and buff actually was. Now, now for Shablanque, the poison darts had an adjustment. The ground target was incorrectly smaller than the actual ability and has been fixed. So what pretty much that's just an adjustment for gameplay, just to show, okay, it used to be a radius of 10, it really should have been 20, to give you a little bit better idea. I don't necessarily call that a buff, it's more of just a fix for Xbalanque. What other questions you got for today?
I guess healing, would that affect Raws too, ultimately?
I'm sorry, say that question again?
I was just wondering about that new active you were talking about earlier about how it affects healing. That's going to affect Raw too, right?
Oh, sure, definitely. Let me bring that up here, just so... You're talking about the Creeping Curse. With Creeping Curse, those of you guys just joining us and unfamiliar, Creeping Curse now goes ahead and goes from a 50% debuff. So if we had our buddy here, Jacob, go ahead and cast Creeping Curse on me as the enemy, I would go usually 50% less healing if I wanted to heal myself, but now it's 100%, so you can't even heal at all. So
that's crazy.
To counter, so that's a really good counter there actually with Ra's ability. It's going to affect him. I mean, Creeping Curse is going to affect people across the board, and I see Creeping Curse getting used a ton. As I said before, in team fights, it's going to be astronomical. Because it's like all of a sudden you get into a team fight, and Ra throws down like a Solar Blessing or something like that. It's like, oh, pop Creeping Curse. Their whole team piled on top of it. It's useless now. Because you can't heal at all.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something, man. Because usually people picked Raw, and it would ultimately help them in a good fight because it would help them live. But, yeah, it's going to suck now.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. What other questions you got for today, sir?
The new skins.
Yep.
Just wanted to
know. No problem. So the new skins that did come out, we had the new skins. We have Nightmare Hades, which is really, really cool. It's definitely like the next step up for Hades. Like, it's definitely one of those featured premium skins. So really cool to see that. We saw a Thanatos Soul Harvester. So we saw one there, and then we actually saw 3 golden ones come out. Golden Bastet, Golden Hercules, and then Golden Chunga.
Nice.
So
cool.
Chunga is finally coming out. I know it's kind of been up in the air for a little while with the golden there. And Golden Ares was kind of mentioned, but isn't coming out. But there's an opportunity for it to come out in the next month. So I'm really interested to see how it differentiates, because the default Ares gold skin is kind of like his default skin is kind of gold. It's a little bit more of a brown type of look to it, but hopefully it's significantly different than what that original look is.
Yeah. I just had one more question.
No, please, go for it.
Do you know anything about like maybe a gold Xbalanque coming out anytime soon?
I haven't heard it, but my understanding is their plan is to hit every god with a gold skin. So He's going to be there. He's going to come eventually. It's just if his bingo card's called. It's pretty much what it's going to come down to.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
No problem, man. Thanks for calling in. You have a good day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Alrighty, well, thank you. Excellent questions, guys. I appreciate you guys calling in. It was a little bit slower of a start, but then once people started calling in, it was like, steamroll. Moving on, let's go ahead and move on to our 4th topic here. Let me go ahead and bring that up. And our 4th topic here is Blink and Combat Blink. And my question here to you guys, and I would like to talk about, is, has Blink changed the game for the better? Some may argue yes. Some may argue no. And what I mean by that is, it's interesting. Now Blink is like a cookie cutter item that you'll get on a lot of tanks. Look at Ymir. Look at Ares. Look at Sobek. And now, granted, it comes down to your game mode. You're going to see Ares always get it when you're going ahead and going into an arena. I mean, I love getting it on Ares on arena. I think it's so effective. But the big question is it Blink tier 3, or do you go with the combat Blink? What I'm finding is that tanks are going more Blink, and then you have gods like Anubis or an AO or any other, even like a Hebo. And now, granted, Hebo does have a pretty good escape there with his ultimate, but you'd hate to waste it. But needing an instant escape, you need to disengage from battle right away and get away. What's available to you? Because the big thing is with someone like Anubis, for example, you are half health and you have Loki jump on top of you. You're pretty much dead, but unless you have combat Blink. Yes, you can pop like Aegis, if you had it available, depending on the stun sequence. And yes, you can pop beads, but let's say you pop beads. You're not getting far. You're screwed. Like, Loki's going to keep up with you. You're pretty dead. Aegis, okay, you just delayed the inevitable. Loki's going to kill you. But if you have combat blink on some of these squishier gods, all you gotta do is be like, okay, pop beads, that gets me out of the stun, pop combat blink, bam, I'm far enough away, I should survive this. So it's pretty interesting where now, for the longest time, Hi-Rez is gonna, look back a few months, every god coming out had a leap or a disengage of some kind. And so they came out with Cripple. And Cripple went ahead and was the counter to everyone having these leaps available to them. I mean, that's what it was there for. It was a great mechanic to add into the game. Cripple has made a huge impact on the gameplay, especially on a competitive side. Team fights, it's just there. Cripple is everywhere. Now, on top of that, it's interesting, though, is now what we're seeing is the next big thing is Blink. And it's affecting the game so much because it can be used in so many different valuable ways. And let's go ahead and see here. Alright. Let's see. I already got a call from you, so we'll keep moving on. Oh, here we go. We got a new call here. Let's go ahead and accept. And let's go ahead and call this viewer here. Hey, you there, man?
Hello?
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Smite Talk.
I was just wondering, yeah, hello?
I'm here, go ahead. Can you hear me? I can hear you. Can you hear me? Go ahead and ask your question. Ask your question if you can hear me. Hello? Oh, that's a shame. Looks like you can't hear me. Only downside of taking viewer calls. Well, anyways, moving on from there, guys. Blink's kind of that topic, which is what do they do with it? Can they make adjustments to Blink? They made a ton of changes to Blink over the last few weeks and the last few patches, and so really eager to see what they do with it as they're finding more and more people are getting it. I think I saw a post the other day, and it was a picture of a screenshot of the abilities purchased in a game, and every other person had Blink. It was just the item to use and have. So we'll kind of go from there. If you guys have any other calls, please feel free to go ahead and call in. I'm going to move on to one of our last topics here, the transparency of Hi-Rez. Would you mind if you call back? Feel free to call back, guys. Don't mind at all. Right now we're seeing Hi-Rez is being... They are flourishing as a publishing company, a game development company. And reason being is, more specifically, is their transparency is amazing. I made a post on Twitter the other day and said, if Hi-Rez was any more transparent, they would be a ghost. And it is so true. Everything about Hi-Rez, without leaking up-and-coming stuff, it's amazing. They leak little things here and there in the community to get people excited. You have the COO who just did an interview with me yesterday that we went ahead and put up. We also had Hi-Rez Erez, the CEO, on stream today doing the patch notes, acting goofy but being excited. Did you see how excited he was to talk about the patch notes with Bart? This is a company which is amazing. And the one thing I learned yesterday in the interview with the COO, Todd Harris, was that they don't have all these hierarchies in a corporation. You got the three head honchos, the management staff, and then it's everybody as a collective. And it's really cool to see because that whole open office type of atmosphere, I feel is completely being reflected on the community. At any time, you can go ahead and message someone from Hi-Rez Studios, and you'll hear back from them. It's really cool to see. There's a lot of people, and that direct reflection is affecting the game in a positive way. If you guys haven't noticed, look at some of the changes we're seeing. The community is asking for change, and we get it. We put out the results, and we go ahead and take those results and go to Hi-Rez and say, listen, here's a bug, here's a problem, or hey, here is where a situation where a god is too strong. And they send it to somebody at Hi-Rez, and you might see that adjustment automatically happen. There's a huge possibility that adjustment will be made in future patches. You have god ideas or you have skin ideas. They're always looking for information. It's something about Hi-Rez that makes them so amazing, and it comes down to transparency. Let's go ahead and take this call from Dennis. Hey, Dennis, welcome to Smite Talk. This is another good classic. This is a good classic. Dennis, you with us? All right, Dennis is just giving us some lovely song music there. So, anyways, the transparency is amazing, as I'm talking about there with Hi-Rez, and it's been really cool to see moving, and I'm really eager to see, like, we have all this transparency and this amazing communication between us as the community and Hi-Rez Studio staff and even like management. Well, my thoughts are there is, will we see that when beta launches? My hope is yes. And my other concern there is, like, with the transparency is it's been amazing now because the EU and NA scene have this great communication with Hi-Rez. But what happens with Tencent when Tencent is now coming into the scene representing the Chinese market? Like, what's going to happen there? Does the community influence go from the Chinese market to Tencent, and then Tencent goes ahead and feeds Hi-Rez what they feel is the best way to go ahead and change their game? Because that's not the best way to do it. Like that's not the community input. I feel like we're getting into like the whole political kind of talk here. Let's go ahead and take this call from Jim. Hey Jim, how's it going? Rick rolled again. Thank you guys. But that's my concern there. Like with Tencent, like what's going to happen with Tencent? What is exactly going to occur there with the communication? Because I feel like all of a sudden we're going to have Hi-Rez, NA, and EU, and it's going to be great. And then all of a sudden, this huge barrier, boom, and the Chinese Asian market, and then we're going to have Tencent there, and it's going to be like, okay, well, how do we bridge that communication? Like, yes, Tencent and Hi-Rez are going to be communicating all the time, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, but when, you know what I mean? Like how's that going to work? Like, that's what I'm really interested about to find out, and it's going to take some time. We do have the Smite beta opening up in the Asian market in October, so just a few days away, actually, a few weeks away here. Not sure of an exact date. I haven't heard any rumors or haven't been told anything or it hasn't been announced anywhere, but that we were told that in October we would see the Asian market open up for Smite with beta, so I'm really eager to see how that works out. Well, guys, it has been an hour and 5 minutes. I was planning the show to be like a half hour long, and with your amazing calls, we're now up to an hour-long show, which is cool. I'm completely okay with. Like I want the calls. I am going to go ahead and round out the show here. If you guys are viewing us here, and you guys haven't played Smite before, I would like to go ahead and direct you over to SmiteGame.com. You can play Smite completely free over at SmiteGame.com. Go ahead, sign up over there, join us. Hey, you want to play with me? Add me in game. My in-game name is OctanePro. Get the game and let's play together. Also, guys, this version will be available on iTunes if you guys are interested. It will be up on iTunes in a few days, so if you guys caught the tail end of the show or you'd like to recommend it to a friend and say, hey, Smite Talk, check it out. First episode was on Tuesday. It'll be up on iTunes in a few days. I'm going to be working on getting that up. The video version will be available as well coming out too, so if you guys like to rewatch this at any point. If you guys want to check me out, tomorrow night I will be casting the SmiteTube.com's 3vs3. So we talked a lot about 3vs3 tonight. Check me out tomorrow night casting the 3vs3 tournament, Clash of the Gods. I think first place is 2,400 gems, so pretty badass there. So check that out. I'll be on twitch.tv/SmiteTubeTV. Also, if you guys want to keep up with me, I have Smite Update going on Mondays, now Smite Talk on Tuesdays, 3vs3 casting on Wednesdays, and then I do VODs and stuff on the sides, and then I do viewer games too. If you guys have never come and played, we do viewer games all the time. So viewer games from now on will be anytime between Thursday and Sunday. I've kind of changed up my schedule, so I'm dedicated to content with shows and casting Monday through Wednesday, but then Thursday through Sunday are all viewer games. My schedule, along with a ton of giveaway information, I do a lot of giveaways thanks to my sponsors, is over at OctaneProGaming.com. Once again, that's OctaneProGaming.com. So check that out. You can find everything that you want to know about me. There's a bio over there. There's a description about my setup here, full details about it over there as well. You can join the Minion Army, and that actually puts you in the running to win giveaways. So please make sure that you do check it out. Outside of that, guys, I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight for episode 1 of Smite Talk. I was super nervous to find out, like, hey, was this show going to be successful? Would we get a decent viewer base? Would we get a decent amount of calls in? You know, that was my first concern. We first started out and we had, like, no calls. And all of a sudden 1 call came in, and then 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6. And so I'm really happy that things kind of took off. So I'd like to say, guys, till next time, game on, my friends.